So we're going to recreate this effect without a 3D software. We're going to use only Illustrator. So you can use any version. I will personally use the CS6. As you can see, it's in French, but I will do my best to translate. So the first thing we need to do is to create a new document. So you can do this by going in File, New, or CMD or Control N. I create a new document. I make it 800 millimeters per 800 millimeters. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we need is a black background. So the easiest way to do that is take the rectangle tool. You drag a rectangle. You fill it with black, no outlines. Okay, I'm gonna unzoom so you can see it better. Okay, so this is our background, fairly simple. I will rename the layer background and I lock it so it won't move when we work on the whole composition. Now I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to import my lettering piece that I vectorized earlier. So I open my document, Control or CMD O or File, Open to open your document. So this is my lettering. As you can see, the overlapping paths are showing. It means that I didn't expand it. What is expanding? It's when you do this. You merge everything and all the overlapping areas are merged together. We don't want that. We need it to remain unexpanded. So you keep it like this. You simply copy, paste on our new layer. Okay. We are going to fill it with white. So this is not filling, this is outline. So you can just swap here and remove the stroke. Okay, so we have the lettering on the background and it's on a new layer. We are going to duplicate this layer. Why? Because I want to keep a base. This will be a base. And I want to put the shading on a new layer that will be on top. And to do this shading, I will need to cut this part into pieces. So I want to duplicate it at the same place on a new layer. So to do that, the quickest way is you will drag this layer onto the new layer icon. You release and you have a new layer here. And if I hide this one, you can see that we have our vector on it too. I'm going to rename this one lettering. We won't touch it. And this one will be shadows. Oops. Like this. And this is what we're going to use to create our shading. So when you hover or when you select your lettering, your vector, you can see all the little pieces. It's like a puzzle. You can see that all the parts look like a puzzle, and this is exactly what we need. We're going to shatter the whole vector as pieces, and then we're going to reconstitute it by merging some pieces together so we can define what's going to go on top and what will be hidden. So what you will need to shatter this vector into pieces is the pathfinder. I have it here, but if you don't have it, it's in Window, Pathfinder. So we're going to use the pathfinder mode that is called divide. This is this icon that you can see it, and it will create all visible parts are going to be individually cut and set apart from each other. So look at what happens when I click here. You can see that new pawns appeared at each intersection, and I'm going to hide the lettering layer, and you can see if I zoom, you can see really thin outlines. It defines all the different pieces. So I need to ungroup the whole thing because right now everything is grouped together. So I go on Object, Ungroup. So now you can select every piece individually and work on it. So this is going to be the tough part because you need to merge pieces together according to what you want to create visually. So on my example, you can see that there is a part that goes above, then under, then above, which means that I need to merge parts accordingly. So if you're having trouble defining that, maybe what you need is to take a piece of paper and do it on paper. It will be way more easier. So in my case, what I'm going to merge first are those ones, this one and this one. Okay. And what will help me is assign different colors, because right now everything is white, so I don't really see what I'm doing. So I'm going to assign a color so this part is visible. Okay, so this part is like this. I have this part here. So you can see that I selected all the parts. I click, I hit Shift, I maintain Shift on my keyboard, and I click on the different parts so they are all selected, and I click on Merge here in the Pathfinder. I assign a different color. Okay, this is also merged with this part. Okay. So this part is on its own, and you can see that I will have a little problem here because I need to merge this part with this part, but I don't want this part here to be merged with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a little trick so I can merge and keep a clear cut here. So I will make sure that this part is on top, so I right click, put it on the foreground. I will select this point here and this point here, and I will move it to the right, 20 pixels to the right, so I can select those two parts. I merge them, and then I can put those two back. So you can see that even if this is a whole part, you can see there that there is still a clear cut, which will allow me to create a shadow here that will not be on this part. It will be only on that part. So now we're going to add shadows, and we are going to use the gradient tool to do that. But before, we need to define what goes up, what goes above, what goes under, so we can define where the shadows are. So when you look at my drawing, you can see that this here goes above this part here. Okay, so this shape will most likely cast a shadow on this area. Okay, same with here. This part goes above this part, so there will be a shadow here, and a shadow here, and a shadow here, and this part goes above this part, so there will be a shadow here. So the shadow will be dark here and fade to light here. Dark here, light here. Dark here, light here. dark here, light here, and light, dark, back to light. Okay, so I'm going to click on this shape, for example, and I'm going to apply a gradient. So I click on my gradient tool and I click on my shape. There you can see there is a bar that appears here, which is the gradient bar. You can move this around, you can rotate it. So you can see right now it's white to black. So I rotate my bar and I'm going to move it around here. So I have dark to light. I can make it like this, and I can move my marker, my light marker, like this. So don't hesitate to move it around to make it look like what you need. So my first problem here is that I don't want this part to be shaded. I just want this part to be shaded. So I need to cut this area because I just don't want all this part here. So I'm going to use the cutter tool. The cutter tool is here. So I have my cutter tool. I will define where my shape needs to stop. For example, here and here. I remove this part. I delete this part. I can show my lettering layer back. You can see this will be what appears under. This is our base and the shading goes above. So I go back on my shading. I don't forget to close the path because here you can see that the path is open. So you can use the pathfinder to do it like this. So back to my gradient. So this is nice. This looks right, but we need to change the colors. So there are multiple ways to do it. My favorite way is to avoid dark grays or shades of gray. I prefer using a full black and make it, instead of making black to white, I'm going to make it black to transparent. So then I can use the opacity here and set the opacity. So if I want to change the color of my lettering base, I won't need to edit this back. So here you can see that I can change the color. So this is black. This is exactly how I want it. This is white. I need to make it black, but set the opacity to 0. So it's going from black 100% opacity to black 0% opacity. And then you can see here that there is a bad transition between my shape and my base. So I go back and I push my marker like this. And then I can put the opacity down, maybe to 10 or 20%, and have a much more subtle effect. Okay, so this is done. We're going to do this part. So we are actually going to divide this part in two because we need a shade here and we need a shade here. So cutter tool, I make a cut here and a cut here, another here and another here. So this part, I close it with my pathfinder, same here, and this is unnecessary. So we have here this and this. So I can apply a gradient on my shape. I just click it. Okay, I rotate my bar like this. I shift my marker so the gradient is a bit longer, and you can see that my bar is following the movement of my lettering, like this. So, like this, you can shift it, make it appear a little better. Okay, so this looks nice. Same thing, as you can see, it's still in memory. Since I made this black 100% to black 0%, this is in memory, so I don't need to set it again for this one. And I pull the opacity down to 20% for now. So this is going quite well. We are now going to do our last part. So, oh no, I forgot this one. Sorry. So, same thing, gradient tool, click on it, move the bar like this, rotate if you need, pull the marker so there is a transition that is seamless here, and then pull down the opacity 20% for me. I will fine-tune that a little later. Okay, so this is nice. Now we can do this big part. So as I said, there will be two parts. There will be this part here, and there will be the big part. So same thing, cutter tool, I cut my shape. I always make it a little bigger than what I think I will need, so I can. I'd rather cut than go back. So this is okay. I close that. This is a bit too big. I don't need the whole shape, so I can cut it here and here. So this is unnecessary. This is unnecessary, and I close my shape. Okay, so first thing is that one. It's the simplest one. Click on it with my gradient tool, orient it like this. Okay, so make sure you follow the position and the orientation of your curves to make it look really smooth and natural. Okay, so this looks nice. Put it back to 20%. And this part will be not exactly the same, because we need to make, instead of dark to light, we'll make light to dark to light. So, same thing, I click, and here I'm going to edit my gradient. So, I will drag this one here to about 50% in the middle, this back to 0, and I will click on option, the option key on your keyboard, to duplicate this marker, drag it, release it. So you have light to dark to light. Okay, so now we can go back here, use this, rotate it like this. So this needs to be dark just under this big loop. Okay, maybe I will cut this a little bit, so drag this like that so there is a seamless transition. Okay, I'm going to cut this part, cut it maybe here and here, because this whole big part doesn't need any shading. I remove that, close my path. Okay, go back on this, and same thing here, I push this, so like this. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna push this down to 20%. Okay, this looks nice. This is actually quite nice. Okay, so now I think we can say that we are done with this part, and now we can fine-tune it. For example, this doesn't need to go that high. Can cut it here. This is details, but this is what will make it stand out. So what is actually more important, right now we put all down at 20%, and in reality it wouldn't be all equal like that. There will be some shadings that will be a bit darker than others. So this is up to you to try and study how shading and shadows work, lights and shadows, where it is supposed to be darker and lighter. But actually right now, for example, this would be a little darker, so I can put it 30% maybe. This looks like could be a little darker. Try to zoom out as much as you can so you can see the bigger picture. No pun intended. This could be a little lighter. You can see that this works better. This one too should be a little lighter. Okay. This could be a little lighter too, but maybe in the middle. 15. Okay, maybe this should be at 15 too. So this is the part where your creativity comes. You need to ask yourself what works best. Also, it depends if you want something highly contrasted or if you want something that is more subtle. But as I said earlier, using black to transparent allows me to change the color of my lettering. So if I'm going to lock the shadows so I make sure I don't move anything around, I unlock the lettering, select it. I'm going to change the color, for example. Okay, so there is still a part here missing. I'm going to use something a little more vivid. So if I use something like green, like this, you can see that the shading still works. You still can see the shading here. So maybe you need to export this in Photoshop, and ideally what you want is to have everything on an individual layer. Right now you have a layer that is called shadows with everything on it, and this is not ideal. You want something, you want a PSD file with all your layers. So the simplest way to do that is we are in the layer panel, okay? And here on the top right corner you have a little arrow. You click on it, and you have here in English it's a release to layers sequence. Okay, so you click that, and here you will have all the path on this layer turned into layers. So you can select them all by keeping Shift Maintain on your keyboard. Select them all, put them on top. So now shadows is empty. You can delete it. Don't forget to keep a copy, but you can delete it for now. We have our lettering, which is alone on its layer, the background too. So now you can export. So you do File, Export, you do PSD, ampersand.psd for me, export. So here Illustrator will ask for the color mode, so I will stay with CMYK because this is mandatory if I want to keep the right layers option checked. If I go on RVB, I can't keep layers, so I will stick with CMYK, highest resolution possible. So here it's 300 ppp. Right layers, this is what will enable you to have several layers with all the pieces. Okay, so this is not relevant because you don't have text, and this is the anti-aliasing option, so you need to try them all and see what works best for you. Okay, this is the ICC profile is relevant if you are doing a print project. So if you are actually, if you have ICC profiles that are embedded in your document, make sure to check this and then click OK. So now I'm in Photoshop, so I open my document, so CMD-O or Control-O or File Open. Select this. Open, and there we go. So we have a CMYK document, so you can switch to RVB. Do not flatten it. Okay, the colors will be converted, but maybe you will need to make some adjustments. Okay, so as you can see here on our layer panel, we have our background here, we have our lettering here, and then we're all our layers. So it's a bit of a mess. You can see the layers into groups, but you can select them all with either Shift or CMD or Control if you're on PC. You can remove all of those. And actually, if you put, let's say, solid color behind and you hide your lettering, you can see that all the shaded parts are really black to transparent. So you can use real black, true black, and do your editing with raster effects.